This is try number 2. Sorry about that. The last video didn't end up having audio because I messed up on the microphone, so I apologize. I mean, nobody's really seen any of the videos, and I doubt anyone will probably care too much because they're watching me as I start out. I will be trying to learn more about this when I have time, so I'm making this video prior. I was originally going to post on Sunday, but I think I'll just post today because I'm not doing the best today other than the being at home. So, well, hello and welcome, my audience. Just so you know, there's a couple of things I wanted to start out with. First, the pictures that I referenced in the first video were just about my inspiration and about explaining the other universes. We'll get to that in a bit. So I'm probably just going to type and describe it in that way. Okay, so the people that are on my channel I call myth weavers because that's what in my fantasy world universe I would use for the fantasy world. For our world in fantasy, we would be called myth weavers. Why is that? Well, that's why it's the Gardens of Universes lore. It's because this is the Great Garden. You might ask why is it a garden, and I really chose that just because thematically it made the easiest sense to mess with some of the metaphysics and stuff. So, humans have the power to create. We create our fictional worlds. They can be entire universes. So, since universes have branches, like branching timelines and also branching alternate universes, these are all a part. These are all a part of one universe tree. Sorry, I'm a little slow on the typing, so the saying it is going to be a bit of a pain and stuff like that. So, in the beginning, there was basically God who created us. I call him the Great Myth Weaver. Well, I don't call him the Great Myth Weaver. It's more like the Great Myth Weaver is the stand-in for him. So that way God isn't necessarily involved in fantasy. So at first there was the Great Myth Weaver. Then he created the Myth Weaver's race, which is us as humans in our reality. And he gave us the gift to be able to use imagination to create. So with that, we have the ability to create more things. And that's how we create our own universes. Each myth weaver, if I can spell right, each myth weaver makes their own universe tree. This is basically someone's personal fantasy. Wrong one, that's plus. It's basically a person's own canon. That's what a fantasy universe tree is in the garden, in the Great Garden. The Great Garden is for basically every universe that ever existed to exist. It's a location that is an infinite void. It has no limits, no boundaries, no nothing. And it's just where everything is that exists in all the different universes. Each branch on a tree is its own multiverse. So when you create a universe tree, it basically is everything related to that property. So if you think about Marvel brand would be the universe tree and the different universes that they had before they cut that down, if I remember correctly. Like Universe 616 and 1990 and other universes like that. Those would all each be their own individual branches, because as a universe, they all have their own infinite number of possible timelines that associate with it. So basically, it's like a multiverse is created of one universe and all of its possible timelines. And then from a multiverse to a greater multiverse is where all those other multiverses are stacked together into a part of it. And so because of that, that's what makes them branches instead of the trees. And as I imagine these trees, I imagine them that they're made of crystal and that they have crystal fruits, that each fruit is the universe that it contains, and the crystalline branches is the combinations of universes. So if you have a branch that has that universe, and it creates all the fruits that make that other timeline, like the other universes and stuff. So these trees are, if they were physical, they'd be so big that it's impossible to understand. So basically, it's kind of a place that blends physical looks with the metaphysical concepts. So like infinity could be understood as one of the trees because it's infinite in size. But it's not going to look like it's an infinite sized tree because that's too big to imagine. And we can already look at the universe and not really see much of what is of the infinite or maybe not infinite space. We don't know because we've never seen that far. So, in the end, that's that. The way that trees interact is when mythweavers get together and they allow for other mythweavers to be able to join in to their trees. And so what that means is, like, for example, if people from our world, which are the mythweavers, if some mythweavers decided they wanted to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons, the main tree that the people use is the Dungeon Master's tree, and it's his world that he's sharing with them, and they have the ability to take things that they like and add it to their own universe. And so they also have the ability to create characters which put into those universes and can interact in those universes. So it kind of acts as divine avatars for the mythweavers and things like that. So the tree interacting is branches merging because of mythweaver interactions and consent. Now, not always does it need consent because mythweavers take things from trees that they've seen, like from shows and things, and those don't necessarily allow you to make the fan content and stuff like that. So some of it is that, and so that's part of it. So it's like some consent, but it's not really consent. So it's more like when a mythweaver sees another tree, they can take and interact with that tree to some extent. However, that does not make something that a mythweaver from one tree makes automatically becomes canon in the other mythweaver's tree. After all, we've made it so that way when the audience likes something, it doesn't automatically become canon in the universe of that. So trees like Marvel and DC are really big, and a lot of people share with them, and a lot of people are able to use their content. They don't necessarily make their own content with it, but they do see it in their own universes. They like having characters and things in their own universes. What feeds the trees is a pool. This pool is called the Great Pool. It is a pool of energy that is unlimited. There's a reason why I say unlimited instead of infinity. Infinity is a countable number that the only reason you can't count it is because it's continuously growing. So the difference between unlimited and infinity is that infinity can eventually be measured if you have infinite amount of time. Unlimited does not have the ability to be measured. Why? Because it has no limits. There's no way to measure it because it doesn't have an end. So in the endless expanse of nothingness, it has an unlimited pool of energy that feeds the universe trees. And so that's how all the multiverses are connected, is because Mythweavers can share from their universes to other universes. So that's what logically explains the crossover events and things like that. And some are canon, some aren't canon, some can happen, some don't happen. So in the end, it's a good contrivance reason for us to have it, but it's not necessarily has to happen. And so that can explain a lot of different things. And with that, the pool also has a small layer. As a layer at the bottom. This layer at the bottom is called the Great Barrier. The Great Barrier is a protection between our universe and the fantasy universes. Sorry that I'm not the best at talking at the same time that I'm typing. My brain doesn't like working ever since the attempts that weren't good. Thankfully, I'm still alive, which is good, but there's been trouble with that from back then, so sorry about that. That was way back then, so don't even worry about that. Never mind that. I don't know how to edit it out yet, otherwise I would have edited that. Sorry, guys. I'm still new to the channel stuff. I did have the little notes for script, but I didn't want that showing, so I kind of had that on there, and then I read it before doing this. Kind of did it as an outline script, so this was still sort of fresh. But anyway, the Great Barrier is basically a magical shield. Darn it, shield that creates copies of our universe so that other universes can interact. However, even though these universes are identical copy, down to the smallest detail, they're not our universe. So this explains away some of the different universes, like when The Simpsons crossed over into reality in one of their episodes, or like other cartoons that make references to that, like the, what's it called? Oh yeah, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and various other characters and things like that. And so, because of this protects Mythweavers from the fantasy creations that they make. So these are the main things that I went over on that, and so that was supposed to be the idea of that fantasy thing. And so at the end of that one, I asked, what are your favorite, or what is, not are, whoops, what is your favorite fantasy creature? Please let me know. My favorite fantasy creature is a dragon. Although there is the creature that I posted on the YouTube shorts that I like, that is my Zagan, which are similar to dragons, but they're just wolves instead of lizards. So, I'd really like to know what your favorite fantasy creatures are. if you liked this video and you liked the start of it, then please, by all means, give it a like and write a comment. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe because it's just a hobby, and that's what I mentioned at the end of the other video, at the second part of the thank you. I wanted to tell you all thank you very much, and sorry that these videos kind of suck. I'm going to watch videos about editing and things like that, but I am a slow learner, so it'll be a journey. I don't have the money to hire a editor, otherwise I'd edit them out of existence. No. Don't do that. I would hire them, but I don't have the money. I'm actually going through a little bit of a problem with my job because my mental illness is getting in the way. So I'm just not going to be able to work for a time. I'm going to try and find a new job and hope that I can work around the mental illness, but you have to have some work experience before you can say, hey, I'm disabled, but that doesn't really help if you can't work properly, but I digress. Doesn't matter. Personal opinion. People can disagree with that. Thank you all. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will keep doing this hobby, and that's all for today, my fellow myth weavers. That was weird. Sorry. That's all for today, my fellow myth weavers. This has been the episode of Garden of Universes Lore, where I talk about not only my fictional universe, but also about pretty much any universes that I want to talk about. Like if I want to talk about Marvel, DC, the Sonic universe, or various other things, or if I just want to go on long tangents related to fiction. That's basically what this one's about, and so I hope you all have a good day, and that's all that I think there was for this, so, yep, have a wonderful day. Bye.